Okay, friends and family, good morning, or good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. I said I owed you a long form, and I will. So today is day 13, I think. That sounds right. And I'll probably do one of my 1-minute videos later today, just to summarize the day. But I think what happened was that I recorded some videos that I never put out, so you guys didn't hear, like, the story. I think you saw a story that said that, we found a spot and I was going to go have surgery. And I did have surgery. They removed the spot. The summary here is that this, where we went in thinking it was stage 1, we came out knowing with the pathology that it was stage 2. And the mass tumor, whatever we're calling it, was 6 millimeters. That's all we saw on any of the scans. But what happened was when they took it out, all the margins were not clean. So she took out about a 4 centimeters square of skin and muscle and all the things around the mass, and of that, about 1.8 of that was malignant. So it was multifocal, which was the same as my DCIS, Ductal Carcinoma in situ, my stage 0 9 years ago, which means there's the cancer isn't in one spot. You know, we were thinking one tumor. It's everywhere. We just saw that one tumor on the pictures, and that predicated a more aggressive treatment plan. So when you have breast cancer, they test the tumor for 3 main genomes: estrogen positive, is it estrogen sensitive or reactive? Is it progesterone sensitive or reactive? And HER2. So HER2 is I don't know how to describe it simply, but I guess its main claim to fame is that it creates that it helps the cancer to reproduce quickly. That's its main claim to fame. So my cancer is estrogen negative, progesterone negative, and HER2 positive. And 20 years ago, HER2 positive breast cancer was fairly fatal. The chemotherapies that they give you to treat the cancer couldn't react faster than the HER2 allowed the breast cancer to replicate, and the breast cancer often won. About 17 to 20 years ago, they came up with a medication called Herceptin, or I'm looking at my cheat sheet, trastuzumab, and it's a HER2 antibody, and it actually interrupts the HER2 genes. It interrupts them so they can't do their reproduction job, and that allows the chemotherapy to come in and kill the cancer. And so where 20 years ago this was not a good predicament to be in, now I'm in pretty good shape. Like the survivability of a HER2 positive stage 2 cancer is pretty high. I think it's in the 80s or 90s. So there's no reason to believe that the treatment's not going to work. And there's secondary treatments to help. So let me tell you about my treatment plan. So because we have to be more aggressive, because it's stage 2 and not stage 1, because we believe that the right breast has lots of cancer in it. We only visualize that 6 millimeter, but based on the biopsy behavior, we think that there's lots of cancer there. We are being aggressive. And my treatment, which you've seen already in some of the other documentation, is called T like Tom, C like Charlie, H like Harry, P like Paul, TCHP. And that stands for, the T is Taxotere or Taxol. The C is Carboplatin. The H is Herceptin, and I think I already gave you the generic name for that, trastuzumab. And then the P is Perjeta, and the generic name there is pertuzumab. So you can see Herceptin and Perjeta are in the antibody category, and they're both working a little bit differently to prevent that HER2 part of my cancer cell from reproducing. And then the Taxol or Taxotere and the Carboplatin are working together to kill the cancer, as well as anything else that's fast growing. I mentioned yesterday that I went to a bridal shower and I was kind of incognito. I had hair. I don't think anyone could tell, except for the people who were there that knew that I, am currently battling cancer. That will probably change in the next week or two. But so far, the hair's staying. It's quite straight. like all the bend and wave and everything to it. It's clear that it's been traumatized, I'll say. Even if I don't dry it or anything, it still comes out pretty straight within a day. And I think that's really just a reflection of, you know, the surgeries, the anesthesia, and then the poison is just, you know, damaging, you know, the way the hair comes out. But it still looks lovely, no complaints for while I have it, right? So the plan for this treatment is as follows. Some people already know this, but I'll share again. I'm supposed to do this treatment once every 3 weeks. It's one day. I go in 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, and I'm there until the afternoon. It takes somewhere between 4 and 6, 7 hours, depending on if they have to do something slow or fast and all that other stuff. There's reasons for things. And then I think I mentioned this last time, I got a Neulasta Onpro patch, kind of in the same vein as a Omnipod, like a medicine distribution system. And then I got that Neulasta the next day without having to go back to the doctor, and that was great. Okay, sorry, my camera overheated earlier. So overall, I think that I tolerated the first week okay. I had a few bad days, and then coming into the second week, well, I guess at the end of the first week it was pretty miserable, and coming into the second week, not great. And I think my brain was just not properly set for, my expectations weren't set, let's say it that way. So the intention here is it's once every 3 weeks. Their expectation is the first 2 weeks you're going to feel miserable. The last week you start to feel better, just in time to get poisoned again. The cycle, so I guess I didn't get to the plans. The plan is to do 6 of these cycles. I've done 1 cycle, and they'd like to do 6. However, if they can get 4, if I can tolerate 4, that would make them happy, but the goal is to get to 6, so we'll see what happens there. 1 month after I finish those cycles, 1 month plus or minus, obviously, I'll be having some surgery to remove my implants and all remaining breast tissue. So, I guess the one question everyone might have, that I had, is how do you get breast cancer when you have no breasts? Excellent question. So I had a bilateral mastectomy 9 years ago because I had that stage 0 cancer in order to avoid having cancer again. Fail. And the way it was described to me is you have the layer of skin, which is on top, and then there's a small layer of fat and vascular underneath the skin that supports the skin, and then is the muscle, and then the implant, and then your body, obviously. And in that layer, that very thin layer of skin, you know, despite the way it's drawn in medical books and every place else, you know, breast tissue and skin, they kind of, it's not a straight line, right? It's like there's some overlap. Now they go in and they try and get every bit of breast tissue, but really it doesn't have, it's not marked. You don't know. But you do your best to skim as close to the skin as you can, but to leave enough fat and everything else to support that skin, which they did do. But apparently there were some microscopic pieces of breast left in there, and those microscopic bits of breast are malignant now. So that's why we're dealing with breast cancer. So my current treatment plan is this cycle of TCHP for 6 cycles if I can tolerate it, or 4 at the minimum, and then wait a month or so for my body to recover from the poisoning. And then I would have a pretty extensive surgery to remove the implants and all remaining breast tissue. So this was interesting to me. Maybe I can insert a picture here. The doctor indicated that all this tissue is not breast tissue. Like up here, this is just chest skin. There's no breast tissue attached to underneath it. Only a small section, kind of, here's the picture. If you think of the nipple as the pupil, it looks kind of like an eye. That's the skin around that was previously attached to breast tissue, and that's what we want to get rid of. So we're treating for cure. Good plan. And we're going to remove all tissue that we can that was previously touching breast tissue, and we're removing the implants. The implants are now 9.5 years old, and I think you're supposed to replace them in the 10, 15, 20. So I'm pretty close. I'm not interested in replacing them, and at this point, honestly, I don't have any feelings like I'm losing my breasts. These aren't my breasts. I lost my breasts 9 years ago, so I don't have any feelings like that. And I'm actually kind of excited to be flatter. So it's going to open up a different dressing, like different clothing choices and so forth. So I'm pretty excited about that, looking at the positive side. And then once we do that surgery, there'll be another set of pathology on everything that's removed. And if everything's clean, then I will continue to take Herceptin Perjeta for a year to 18 months to continue to inhibit the HER2. And that's just protocol. And if it's not clean, then there'll be another discussion. There's subsequent chemotherapies and another type of antibody against HER2 that's available, as well as the possibility of radiation. So that'll be a discussion once we do the next surgery and figure out what pathologies come from that. So right now we're very hopeful that the next set of the surgery following the next, the pathology following the next surgery will be totally clean, and we'll just continue with the course of treatment to finish it out versus having to do a whole nother treatment. So that's the current plan. Feel free to ask me further questions. So as part of this treatment, I gave you the chemos. They also have me taking dexamethasone, which is a pretty heavy-duty steroid, and I take that the day before, the day of, and the day after treatment. And that helps to kind of delay the symptoms. But I have been eating the last couple of days. I guess, okay, look away now if you don't want to hear this. TMI warning. One of the really nasty side effects of Perjeta is diarrhea. And to the extent that they gave me boxes of Imodium, or they scripted me, I had to pick them up. Boxes of Imodium before I even started, and I have very strict instructions. You know, you take 2 pills with the first bowel movement and 1 pill with every subsequent, and then up to a maximum of double what says on the box. So the expectation here is that per day, that it could get pretty scary. So far, actually my worst day was yesterday with multiple episodes. Most days I have 1 episode and that's it. But I also ate the most yesterday that I have since I was treated. So I went to that shower and the food was excellent, and I had way more food than I had eaten before. I felt okay, but that night, took it out of me. I'll just put it out there. I was like, okay, I'm done eating. I don't want to eat again. Now this morning I woke up and I felt okay. I guess the other thing to mention is this kind of congested sound. I think that is my body. My nose, actually, how do I articulate this nicely? No way, I've already given you the TMI warning. All right, my nose is kind of bloody and a mess. If I blow my nose, it's like scabby, clotty kind of stuff, and it bleeds. And I think the same is happening in my throat because the chemo has stripped away the mucus layer and the fast-growing cells. I think that what you're hearing sounds like a cold. I don't believe I have a cold. I don't have drizzles or anything. I think you're hearing the lack of those membranes in my body. It's making an issue. And my belly doesn't feel great. I'll put it out there. So between the Perjeta side effects plus just general chemo, I haven't been doing great. You saw, I guess let's put a summary up here for the week. You saw my weight drop and starting to come back a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. It's on the swing up. And my movement got a little better over the last couple of days. It was very nothing, and I'm starting to move a little more, so I feel a little better there. Mostly it just moves slow, and listen to your body. When you start to feel bad, lay down, sit down, whatever you got to do. What other data can I share with you? I did mention this week that I went to the doctor. It seemed much ado about nothing. At the end of the day, it seemed as though, I think it was just kind of a check-in. My blood work looked pretty normal. There was a couple little abnormalities. My platelets are leaky, and something else. My chloride was a little low. But overall, most of my electrolytes were okay. And most of my other counts were okay, not great. My white count was elevated, but that's from that Neulasta shot I got last week. And trying to think if there's any other news to share with you generally. So I think I've shared the plan. If I haven't, I'll say it one more time. I'm getting this chemo treatment 1 time every 3 weeks for a minimum of 4 treatments, for a maximum of 6 treatments. About a month after my treatment stopped, then we're going to have surgery to remove all breast tissue and implants as best we can. And then after that, we're waiting to make the next plan. Minimally, I will continue getting injections for at least a year, maybe a year and a half of the HER2 inhibitor. And that's kind of where we're at. I think that the port, I don't know if you guys can see this on camera or not, is healing okay. It's not bothering me at all. My last port hurt a lot. This one's not really bothering me. It's itchy. But I did, a couple nights ago, I started taking, what's the word I'm looking for? Benadryl at bedtime, which A, helped me sleep a lot, and B, has helped with this rash and the itchiness around this, what do you call it? Because they're dermabond on here, and I think it's causing a reaction. That's what I really think it is, but there you go. What else can I tell you about? I think sleeping. I think that's everything. If you guys have any questions for me, please put them down below, and I'll be happy to answer them either in one of my 1-minute videos, or I'll try and put together another longer video Wednesday or Sunday next week. So right now my next treatment is scheduled for September 5th, 2023. And I'm feeling not great, but about 100% better than I was a week ago. So I can't complain. I mean, I could, but what would be the point? And hopefully that means that the chemo is killing the cancer, and beyond just making me miserable, it's doing its job. So fingers crossed. Thank you all for your love and support. Really appreciate it. Have a good one. If there's anything I can do, answer, let me know.